Since 1993, the Denver Bar Foundation, the Davis family, and the law firm of Davis, Graham & Stubbs honor a lawyer annually. The recipient should be someone who, though under the age of 40, has combined the excellence as a lawyer and creative leadership in the community that were typical of Dick Davis at that stage in his career. He was trusted and relied on by generations of Colorado's business leaders. Dick was admired and loved by generations of colleagues. He honored us by his integrity as a lawyer, by his generosity as a citizen, and by his warmth as a man. Oliver Wendell Holmes Jr. wrote that you could live greatly in the law. Dick Davis lived greatly in the law through his impact on the lives of the people around him. Born in Massachusetts, Dick went through schools there, then Yale University, Cambridge University, and Harvard Law School, even rowing on the Yale crew to build himself up to the husky fellow he turned out to be. In due time, he married a wonderful person named Nancy Newton and fathered Pam and Richard Jr. At one time, 4 generations of the family were visible, including his mother, his son Richard, and his grandson Newt, named after his boarding school and college roommate brother-in-law, former Denver mayor and lifetime friend Quig Newton. He was admitted to the bar in Massachusetts and then Colorado. He joined the Lewis and Grant firm in Denver in 1937, and Quig joined him in 1938 after a year at the SEC with Chairman William Douglas. He and Quig formed a firm in 1939, but found themselves needed in 1942 and volunteered, he in the Army and Quig in the Navy. Dick became a lieutenant colonel. After the war, he and Quig returned to practice law together in Denver. In the midst of all this, he always found it possible to enjoy himself. He would visit with friends in the mountains and traveled enough to get close to a giraffe. He even got involved in the immunization of calves. I don't know whether this related to his interest in cooking, but he had an interest in cooking, both peering at the work of somebody else and participating for years in the cooking club of the Broadmoor in Colorado Springs. He went to its annual event year after year with friends who had to enjoy cooking and agree to be photographed with a chef's hat on. He also involved himself in gardening. He and Carl Arndt got at a vacant lot across the street from Dick's house on Garfield Street and grew wonderful-looking plants, including vegetables and the biggest sunflowers anybody ever saw. Skiing with Byron and Marion White was something that he did almost annually for a couple of decades. He had first recruited Byron to leave Washington, where he was a Supreme Court justice's clerk, to come to Colorado and join the infant law firm that he was putting together with Quig Newton. He had kept up his friendship with Byron over the years, and they enjoyed skiing together over a long period of time. Byron's wife Marion was always in this group, and from time to time, people like Bob Craig, Don Hoagland, and many others were involved. They had the bonding experience of being marooned in Dick's car overnight at the top of Loveland Pass by snowslides that kept the plows away until morning. Justice White later made skiing trips with his Supreme Court clerks and has somehow managed to continue to ski in spite of his college All-American and All-Pro football years crunched back. By the time Dick retired, he and his key colleagues Don Graham and Don Stubbs had built a law firm of over 100 lawyers. It had started in 1915 as Lewis and Grant, when there were trolleys on 17th Street. By 1947, Jim Grant had died and Quig had become mayor, so the 9-lawyer firm of Lewis, Grant, Newton, Davis, and Henry was put together. Even as a member of what grew and became Davis, Graham, and Stubbs, he never forgot to help people enjoy themselves. There were times when he would go to retreats and get very serious, as in this picture with Quig Newton and John Love. It's worth remembering that his leadership attracted to the firm people like Quig, not only a former mayor, but a former president of the University of Colorado, John Love, a former governor of Colorado, Byron White, who went on to become a U.S. Supreme Court justice, and several federal presidential appointees. He kept in his mind all this time the importance of public service in the development of truly professional lawyers. But he wasn't without humor in connection with the practice of law. He knew it was something of a rat race, and he relished the schedule for practicing law posted outside the Lagarita Ranch. He kind of liked the idea in this picture of keeping office hours on the first Monday of the month or the third Monday of the month. He did see it, however, as a run for the roses, as well as a rat race, and generated a competitive sense among his comrades by a balance of physical fun and professional energy. He was active in the American Bar Association and the American Arbitration Association. Dick became the president of the Denver Bar Association, vice president of the Colorado Bar Association, and a generally constructive and active person in the practice of law. The business community recognized his leadership in such roles as the chairmanship of the board of directors of Van Schaack & Company at a time when it was the largest and most influential real estate company in this region. He was also a founder of the Colorado Association of Commerce and Industry and of the Colorado Tax Expenditures Council. He led his firm in a democratic framework and embodied its best ideals for over 40 years. His example as a wise counselor, a clear thinker, and a good friend has brought forth the best in each of the lawyers he's been associated with, stimulating both their professional skill and their sense of human and community responsibility. He and Quig perceived in the 1930s, sooner than most business lawyers did, that the Roosevelt administration was going to make drastic changes in the laws affecting business. Quig put together a series of seminars with the young leadership while he was in Washington in 1938, and then he and Dick put together a course at the DU Business School called New Deal Legislation and the Business Community. It was cutting-edge stuff, and it marked them immediately as young lawyers the business community wanted to talk to. He was a delegate to the Administrative Conference of the United States and was asked by Washington to take a responsible role as an advisor to the Department of the Army. He presided on behalf of the Army in awarding medals in Denver to members of the Reserve Corps. He also was on the board of directors of Colorado National Bank Shares, United Bank of Denver, American Crystal Sugar Company, and Metropolitan Television Corporation, which was the original owner of what we think of as KOA. But this isn't all. Dick was a trustee for the University of Northern Colorado, trustee and vice president of the Denver Museum of Natural History, and a member of the board of the Denver Chamber of Commerce, the Denver Art Museum, and the Welfare Advisory Board. Dick tried hard to help Colorado get the Olympic Games and went to Japan and Germany to develop our chances. Lo and behold, after they got them, the games were taken away from us. His leadership in the business community led him to presidency of the Denver Rotary Club, but his active interest in the welfare of the community as a whole led him to be known as the House Democrat at Denver Rotary. He was an active but behind-the-scenes partner of Quig throughout Quig's distinguished career of public service. He also participated in efforts to raise money for the National Cathedral in Washington, even enduring such hardships as cruising down the Mississippi River in that cause. The Colorado Association of Commerce and Industry gave him a Public Service Award. The fine citation stated that We recognize him as a leader of good people and worthy causes, an outstanding and generous contributor of time and talent to the public good, a businessman whose efforts have contributed significantly to the image and respectability of the business community, and as an esteemed and valued friend of all of us. It is important to realize how early this level of leadership developed in Dick. As early as 1941, when he was not yet 30 years old, he made a speech to the Cactus Club in Denver. Our economy was in bad shape. We were worried about the extent of government involvement in our lives. We were staring at Germany and Russia as troublesome models. He said that economic planning may have a government which is either a democracy or a dictatorship. The plan can be controlled from the top or from the bottom. And I believe that unless we control it from the bottom, it will be controlled from the top, meaning totalitarianism. But the best planned enterprise does not function by force, but by consent, and the best planned society will do likewise. He always tried to manage by consent on big issues. When you talked to Dick Davis, you knew that he was listening to you. He had a way of opening to people, greeting people, touching people, that let them know that he cared about them. The eulogy delivered at Dick's memorial service in 1987 said this about him, analogizing the engineering marvel of the keel of the U.S. America's Cup sailboat to Dick's role in steadying his friends and colleagues. You can't summarize your appreciation for this kind of person with references to marvels of engineering like keels. You don't remember someone like Dick with your head. You remember Dick Davis with your heart. This is a very high standard of life for us to try to meet. The Davis Award is intended to draw the attention of all of us to the importance of this blend of professional excellence, community involvement, and personal warmth that we so admire in Dick Davis and intend to memorialize in the Richard Martin Davis Award.